Creating Little Brotherhood Studios was not an overnight task. To build a studio where all 5 of me and my brothers would work on films together was actually a dream of my mom's for many years. But not just to make movies together, but to make movies not the Hollywood way. To do movies different than the world does them. We come from a family of 5 brothers, all of which who are involved in film in some way now. Our oldest brother Eric went on to be an actor, and has even starred as a key role in a multi-award-winning film. But that is a whole nother story. We had this kind of unspoken plan that after Brian and Kevin went and got their film degrees at Biola University, that Christopher and I were going to follow in their footsteps, and basically work for them making movies. We were going to be Brotherhood Studios.
Nice.
We were going to make all sorts of movies together. Kevin went to Biola University first. His senior project, called Chase Own Rise of the Zerid, exceeded everyone's expectations. When Brian went to Biola, he and Kevin both worked on his senior project, which was Chase Own Quest for Oread, which was even better, in my opinion, than Rise of the Zerid was. And so there were high expectations for myself and Christopher. I can't deny, I was actually really excited to go to Biola because all the professors were expecting me. They had seen Project Toa, they were excited to have me in class. Already some people who were wanting to be my roommate and stuff. It was really exciting for me, but closer to the time it came when I was going to go, I decided I wanted a little time off. So I took a year off, and in that time, God spoke to me that He did not want me to go to college, that He wanted me to stay here and work on BIONICLE instead. Safe to say, that threw off everyone's plans, and honestly, it threw off all of mine too. But I suppose that is the day Little Brotherhood Studios was born, is when I decided not to follow in the footsteps of Brian and Kevin. I decided I was just going to follow God wherever He told me to go, and just trust that He knew best. Safe to say, not going to college was a move that nobody understood. Well,
I do. I do.
So I chose to believe what God had told me about this BIONICLE project being important, and we ended up taking the path of obscurity. And
after that, David and I decided to basically branch off and kind of make our own studio, but because we were still brothers, we wanted to make it look similar as far as the symbol and just everything about it.
And that's one of the reasons why we went with the name Little Brotherhood Studios. It's because they would often refer to us as Little Brothers. But although we were 2 different studios, we still tried to help out some when Brotherhood Workshop was getting on its feet. I made him some custom mocks for specific videos, like Treebeard and the Ints, and even this minifigure from Age of Ultron. Christopher did some of the effects.
A lot of the work that I did for Kevin was often fire effects or smoke or fog or something like that. The very first video that I actually helped him on was the Cranky Cave Troll.
Before we ever posted anything on YouTube about Project Toa, Little Brotherhood Studios' first real appearance was in one of Kevin's videos on his channel.
Designing more with BIONICLE Legos, I always wanted to make them better and more posable than they were before. So I would take just all sorts of parts, even if they weren't even BIONICLE parts, and use them to make whatever I wanted.
So after years of animating BIONICLE in closets in the basement or in upstairs bedrooms, Mom and Dad finally decided it is time that we made a studio. So after about a year of legalities, Dad finally managed to get Little Brotherhood Studios trademarked. We actually had to have a lawyer fight for our case a little bit because apparently there were a lot of studios out there called Brotherhood something. So they didn't really want to sign off on a Little Brotherhood Studios. But we finally got it trademarked. Dad set about making a 3D schematic for what the studio would look like, and we turned it into an architect, and we've got the blueprints for a studio. The studio was to be built in the lot adjacent to our house.
How do you know its
This-
name is Jason?
This room was going to be the animation room. This is going to be the sound room. Then the upstairs area above is going to be the post-production area, or the big garage area, that was going to be the blue screen room. But one interesting part of the story was the lot beside us was not level. It was not a good place to build on, so we needed to build it up. About that time, our neighbors had dug out this gigantic pond and had piled up all the dirt on their property. We were asking them about possibly using the dirt. Turned out she'd already agreed to give the dirt to another neighbor, who then ended up changing her mind about wanting the dirt, saying, quote unquote, "I think God wants the Ulriches to have this dirt." And so the dirt went to us. And we paid to have a guy level that area that would later become Little Brotherhood Studios Foundation. And so the process began. Do bear in mind this process is over the course of a few years. Once the studio was built, there was a lot of work to do inside. It's home sweet home. Not really, but it's cool. The next step was a massive transfer of all our props, toys, and computers, just transporting over all the essentials for making movies into the studio. But thankfully, Christopher and D2 helped a lot with the transporting. Such a good game. Really, one of the longest, most time-consuming parts was bringing all my BIONICLE stuff over to the studio, because just had to empty out downstairs, upstairs, just pretty much wherever I had BIONICLE props for the movie, it all had to go over. Had to be extra delicate with some of the sets we were moving. Couldn't afford to damage any of that. The sound room was probably the very last room in the entire studio to get finished. It was almost a year or two later. So after we got set up, I was going to start animating BIONICLE again, but one of the things that Jesus had put in my heart to do before we get back to work on BIONICLE is to finish the BIONICLE Project Toa scene, and that is where the idea for BIONICLE 7-year anniversary of Project Toa came from. And so me and Christopher sat down and started working on that. We got some unique individuals and actors together to voice all the roles.
Okay, so. Hey, shut up! Voice exercise!
It was pretty much chaos at its finest. But we pulled it off. So we edited together all the voices, did the final sound mixing, finished all the visual effects, and then launched BIONICLE Project Toa 7th anniversary. It's like it was time to finally complete a BIONICLE video, even if it is just a test run, to give people the proper idea of what kind of a film we are making here. And here we are going to give you a tour of the inside of Little Brotherhood Studios. And for the final touches of the studio, my dad and I worked on a fence to completely enclose the studio. Yep, and that is what we are all about here at Little Brotherhood Studios. We rely on Jesus to give us the right ideas of the movies or the kind of movies he wants made, and then we set about making them the best we know how, even at great cost. Will we ever be highly successful as movie makers? Well, we will if God wants us to, but that's completely up to him. But the way I see it, if we are obeying God, we are already a success. At some point, we're going to have to make shutters for those windows to control the lighting better. But this is the blue screen room. Haven't done too much in here yet, but we are eager to get into live action again. So this door on the right is the animation room, and this door right here, this is the sound room. We finally finished it. This is where we do all of our Foley sounds and recordings of just any kind of sounds, really. See, we've got all this foam on the walls. There's like no echo in this room at all. It's pretty well insulated. We've got an old PC computer and a printer hooked up here. So over on this shelf, we just got a bunch of really old props, a lot of random objects that just have great sound that we'll use eventually, or right now. So yeah, that's the sound room. Not much of interest happens in there. We have lots of future plans for that room. For now, we're going to skip the animation room, and I'm going to take you upstairs to the post-production department, what we call Site 1. This is where all the computer work on BIONICLE and just about all our movies takes place. Nuijaga, good to see you.
And this is where I work, nice and homey and stuff. Beats the basement closet because I actually have leg space up here.
Just like Barney 5. Well, it's classic. And here on the sides we have a storage closet. And I see Keith has lost his head again. A lot of foliage and BIONICLE canisters. Here on this side we have all of Kevin's ancient Lego movies. And a bunch of other stuff. I love the little Maku sitting over there. Now here's something interesting. This is my dad's Lego tumbler, which he has put in a big display case and installed lights into and stuff. Really cool. Doesn't get shown off enough. And this is the animation room. I'm currently in the middle of shooting a beach scene in BIONICLE Project Toa. It's one of my very favorite scenes in the entire film, with Onipu and Atero. Animation progress has gone very well, and I honestly cannot wait to show more. To see more updates on how this film is going, you can follow us on Patreon, become a member, to be able to see even more exclusive content. Also, Little Brotherhood Studios has a Facebook page where you can keep up with us and see weekly updates of progress we are making on this film. But we have put out a lot more videos for Patreon this year than we have for YouTube. So thank you all for watching our videos, and thank you so much to our patrons. But especially to my mom and dad. We could not do this without you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Which, since this video is so late, is going to be pretty doggone soon anyways. We are on 4 minutes. Stop saying This is what we do at Little Brotherhood Studios when we have a day off. It's not often, but the only rule of the game is the ball must not stop bouncing. If it stops, everyone loses. It's harder than it looks. Our record is 5 minutes.
You left those fish out.